There's no way to hide the fact that this post is going to be beyond weird. Not just the things that I'm going to be talking about, but also, I'm at a certain point of learning video production that I'm also understanding the structural value of this post, which frankly terrifies me. But that's another conversation for another time. What's nice about posting this on social media is those who don't care to watch the entire thing can scroll on through. But I also get a chance to call my shot. And oh boy, am I going to be calling an insane shot. I'm also wanting to get at least one shoot out of my Studio 2.0 before it's torn down for a move later this week. So I am just barely meeting that deadline. One of the unintended consequences of chasing my wild dreams is I am about to become far more visible on social media than I have ever attempted to be in my entire life. So, I feel it's also fair to give the people I love an explanation for what's brought me to today and what I'm attempting to get off the ground. Towards the end of the pandemic, I had 2 fluke injuries that landed me in physical therapy for roughly 2 years. The first being a forearm break and extensive soft tissue damage. Then, a few months after a 12-month recovery period, I blew a disc in my lower back and contracted sciatica, needing another year to regain a physically capable body, a goal that was anything but guaranteed. I'm going to spare you a lot of the details of my recovery. It's not the type of story that's fun to listen to, let alone unsolicited. But one thing those 2 years taught me is the reality of dealing with those types of physical issues is also the emotional toll that it takes on you, because how the pain is literally so exhausting that you can't even muscle up a brave face. Having to live that emotionally naked is a position that I don't wish on anyone, even that one ex that you have. But another key lesson I learned in that time of my life is once you face something that challenges your health or your mobility, you know what doesn't matter? Your job title and any awards or accolades on your resume. The first time that your body fails you or attempts to fail you, shit changes, and it changes fast. But to regain what I used to take for granted, the way through felt like army crawling on a bed of broken glass for the reward of one shard being removed from my efforts. And going through that day after day after day makes me understand how so many people can either give up or turn to opioids to get through it, especially with how easy they are to get with my flavor of injury. But oddly enough, I found something better than opioids. I stumbled onto something that gave me purpose. Something so fulfilling that it made me want to crawl through hell to learn how to walk again and see this through. Now that I'm one of the few people who've recovered from my injuries to the extent that I have, and am able to say that I'm at the lowest risk of re-injury, my body won't stop yelling at me to see this through. Especially since my biggest health crisis was still ahead of me. Because, shockingly, spending my entire sales career drinking black coffee from the beginning of my shift to the end of my shift, and I somehow wasn't expecting any consequences from that. When a random body scan discovered how bad my blood pressure was, further tests revealed that I was extremely likely to have a spontaneous cardiac episode in the next 6 months. And I'm pretty sure I know what that means. Thankfully, after a brutal caffeine detox, I have a much better relationship with the black bean, and my follow-ups aren't being communicated in an intervention-level tone. And I am far too grateful for that to be much of a smartass about it. Because one of the drugs that I refuse to take is metformin. It's a common blood pressure medicine. Because that's usually the first medicine that's prescribed to people that comes with side effects. Thanks, open enrollment sales, for teaching me that. So through idiocy or stubbornness, I somehow became one of the lucky ones who beat sciatica without opioids, going under the knife, or chopping the affected leg off. And I attempted to go back to my old life. But having gone through all of that, I quickly realized that outside of the fact that there's still a 4-foot Napoleon in the Eastern time zone that I still owe a beating to, I don't have much left to accomplish in the world of insurance or sales. I just don't have the heart to want to build another book of business. I do still have 5 dynamite ideas on how my old boss should answer his phone, though. On top of that, in the world of sales, there's an unwritten rule on when it's normally time to hang up your sales jersey. Because, sadly, in the world of sales, the most successful ones aren't usually the mentally stable ones. It's usually guys with addictions to whiskey, women, weed or wheels, or women with expensive tastes. Because once those people learn that their performance can feed their addictions, the employee retention is literally there and you don't have to pay any extra for it. I can't believe I'm about to say these words, but I found my purpose. Shortly after breaking my forearm, I decided that I was going to get my dream toy, a radio control Hummer H2 running and functional. And just the process of learning how to grab the capture of it gave me a spark. For once, I got a taste of what fulfillment feels like because I slowly discovered that the better I learn how to understand the back end of production, the more I can take what's in my imagination and translate it onto a screen. Is it a difficult learning curve? It's absolutely brutal. But it was this small goal that has spiraled to a new ultimate goal. A goal I had plenty of time to map out instead of thinking of how much physical therapy hurts. And since I'm one of a rare few who have a new lease on life given my medical file, I honestly feel I owe it to myself to see this through. I mean, I've more or less given up on tequila and high-maintenance women for this. Preamble aside, I also must disclose that my plan is a plan only a man like myself could conjure up. I'm not gonna ask if my plan is repeatable. I'm more so asking if I'm crazy enough to pull it off. So the grand aspiration is to open a custom car shop. When your favorite toy is RC cars, it probably explains why I was an early adopter of electric cars. But then came Elon. Elon and I don't agree on much. But one thing I know about America that his South African ass doesn't is no matter how hard you try, you can never stop rednecks wanting to go as fast as possible for as cheap as possible. This is a different rabbit hole that will get a deeper dive at a later date. But Tesla is notorious for fighting right to repair laws. That basically means Elon doesn't like the idea of you or independent mechanics having the ability to fix Teslas, even after the factory warranty expires. Now, that's about as insane as him thinking the company he's quietly dumped all of his debts into is worth $1.7 trillion. One of the unintended consequences of his business practices is there ended up being all of these totaled Teslas just sitting in junkyards. Because of, well, Elon's flawless rollout of autopilot. So rednecks started doing Tesla swaps, taking batteries and motors from totaled EVs, then putting them in previously gas-powered vehicles to go fast and bring new life to vehicles destined for a car crusher. Thankfully, There's a vocational school in Phoenix that's going to teach me the basics of how to not go Final Destination wiring the thing, as well as a few other bits. The exciting news is I know where I want to go. The bad news is I don't know the square root of jack shit of what I'm doing on most of this. Plus, this aspiration is going to be a money furnace for a while before I can ever dream of revenue, let alone profit. To solve this problem, I'm simultaneously launching a production company. If I'm going to be documenting all of this anyways to show to the people that I love, I might as well learn how to showcase myself to the world. Half of a business's battle is finding their audience. So, for the first time in my life, I might have to actually find a way to capitalize on my unique personality. I'm going to try and monetize me going full kill doll. Of the content I'm going to be making, they're going to be in two very distinct flavors: drama content and vehicle content. The vehicle content is obviously going to speak for itself, but the drama content is hopefully going to be my funding solution. One of the fastest ways to increase my likelihood of pulling this off is funding. But I'm not good looking enough to sort this out on GoFundMe, and I promise you, no one wants pictures of my feet. Plus, with my uniquely traveled resume, it's not that difficult to get amazing stories out of people in the city I love while I drive for rideshare companies. Though it's not just the stories and the drama and the content that's going to make this division so invaluable to me. It's the reps I'm going to be getting as a producer. As dumb as this sounds, one of the first things you learn when diving into production is you will 100% guaranteed hate your first 100 productions. Because no matter how prepared and or talented you think you are, you don't know what you don't know, and it truly sucks to suck. So the literal exercise of getting reps of getting all my gear sorted, making sure I've downloaded any capture from previous shoots, learning how to use my actual gear. Did you know buying expensive equipment doesn't guarantee that it's going to be user-friendly equipment? Understanding your eye line. The amount of micro lessons I've already learned have garnered sweet, small victories. Also, massive fuck you to the president for slandering the reputation of teleprompters. These are magical devices that keep you on topic without falling into side tangents that make you forget what you were talking about in the first place. Not talking about anyone in particular. It's now to the point where I have to start learning a new skill. Managing a channel that has to churn out content on a decently tight turnaround on multiple platforms. And right now, I am currently a participation trophy at that skill. But it's learning this skill that is going to be paramount to actually getting my grander dreams realized. On the other side of the coin though, I'll also admit that this drama content is going to be in the same lane as those Real Housewives shows. And that's just weird. But I've heard of the kind of budgets those shows attract. So I guess I'm just upgrading my price to capitalism from going on a recorded line to an internet show. I'm also not going to be using my actual name. That isn't because I'm afraid of what I'm going to be posting or saying. But in terms of word of mouth advertising, having a difficult name to decipher is a bit of a handicap. So, back in my youth, they said if your life wasn't going as planned and you ended up having to strip for money, your stage name, I guess in today's terms it'd be your OnlyFans name, would be your middle name and the street you grew up on. And pride aside, Allen Parkway is far more marketable than Kyle Kildall. Especially since my initials are 1K away from being a part of the algorithm I want nothing to do with. Plus, Having a name that's a punchline to a joke that I might be the only one who knows makes me laugh. So that's good enough for me. This is also going to help me hopefully break a family curse. Having been raised by predominantly Norwegian farmers, there is only one way of life for the men: work. You work, and you work, and you work. You're rode hard and you're put away wet. Pride comes in the work and the quality of work that you do. Also, self-care can wait. Caffeinate. Unfortunately, with that type of lifestyle, there will come a day when you cannot answer the work bell, whether it being physically, mentally, or spiritually. It's that day if you don't know who you are outside of your work. Regardless of how many days you have left on this earth, you're basically a dead man. And I've seen it happen twice. The first being my grandfather, who found purpose in farming, but didn't find peace with the man in the mirror, or a world beyond his fence posts. Then, my father, who found success and money in sales, but never quite found anything that held his attention. Remind you of anybody? So now I have to learn how to thread that needle of pushing hard towards my dream, but not so hard that I burn myself out and forget about having time to catch up with the far too many people that remember me enough to still want to keep in touch. Especially since I'm going to be my own front man. And learning how to be that in a healthy manner is a skill that I still have a long way to go on developing. So if you run into me on the internet doing rideshare revelations, the roughest draft, playing with RC cars on hiking trails, or even being a professional idiot, I've somewhat lost my mind. But there is a sliver of a chance that I might just be crazy enough to pull off my wildest dreams. Mainly because I found what I love when it's boring. And that has given me a level of peace that I cannot describe. I love you, I miss you, and I can't wait to see what's on the next page.